nobody expected what was about to unfold on that court in Hong Kong as Alex. Eala stepped in with calm eyes that hid the weight of an entire nation's hope, while across the net stood Iva Jovic, young, fearless, and ready to challenge everything the crowd thought they already knew about this matchup. And from the very first exchange, there was something different in the air, something heavy, as if this was not just another early round encounter, but the beginning of a turning point that neither player could afford to lose. Because every shot carried more than points. It carried pressure, expectation, and the silent fear of being exposed under the bright lights of the HSBC Open. And as the rallies grew longer and the tension started to rise, the crowd slowly realized they were watching something far beyond a simple tennis battle. They were witnessing a mental war where momentum could shift in a single breath, a single mistake, a single moment of hesitation that could change everything in ways no one inside the arena was prepared for. From the moment the match officially began, Eala carried herself with a controlled intensity that came from years of sacrifice training, and the constant pressure of being seen as a rising star who had to prove herself again and again on the international stage. While Iva Jovic responded with an aggressive rhythm that showed no fear of reputation or ranking, turning every rally into a test of endurance and mental strength that pushed both players beyond simple technique. And as the first games unfolded, the crowd started sensing that neither athlete was willing to give even an inch, trading powerful ground strokes and sharp angles that forced errors at unexpected moments, creating a tension that kept building with every point. And behind every swing of the racket, there was a deeper story unfolding about ambition, youth, and the burden of expectation that often breaks players before they even reach their peak. Yet here both Eala and Jovic refused to break, refusing to slow down even as the rallies stretched longer and the pressure tightened around them like a closing grip. And as the set moved forward, the momentum began shifting in unpredictable waves, leaving fans uncertain about who truly held control, while the coaches watched in silence, knowing that matches like this are rarely decided by skill alone, but by who can survive the emotional storm when everything starts to blur under pressure. And just when it seemed one player might begin to pull ahead, a sudden twist in intensity changed the rhythm of the entire court, hinting that this battle was far from reaching its conclusion and what was coming next could redefine the outcome in a way no one saw coming. As the second phase of the match began, the atmosphere inside the arena shifted into something even more intense, as if both Eala and Iva Jovic had crossed an invisible line, where talent alone was no longer enough and mental survival became the real test, with every serve now carrying a heavier weight and every return feeling like a statement of intent rather than just a response. And Eala, aware of the rising pressure, started adjusting her rhythm with subtle changes in pace and placement, trying to break the aggressive flow that Jovic had built earlier. But Jovic refused to lose control of the tempo and continued, tacking with fearless shot selection that kept Eala constantly on the defensive, forcing her to chase angles that tested not only her speed but also her patience under pressure, while the crowd began reacting more emotionally with every long rally, sensing that the balance of the match was hanging by a thread that could snap at any moment. And behind the intensity on court, there was a deeper psychological battle unfolding, where confidence was being built and shattered within seconds, as both players started to realize that this was no longer just about winning points, but about proving who could handle the weight of expectation when everything starts to tighten, and the margin for error becomes almost invisible. And as the games progressed, the momentum swung again in a dramatic shift that left spectators stunned. Because just when one side seemed ready to take control, the other responded with even greater determination, creating a cycle of pressure and resistance that made the match feel like it was building toward something far bigger than anyone in the stadium could fully understand. And with each passing rally, the sense grew stronger that this encounter was heading toward a breaking point where one decision, one moment of hesitation, or one flash of brilliance could completely rewrite the outcome and decide who would walk away with the spotlight and who would be left questioning how close they came to victory. As the match moved deeper into its final stretch, the energy inside the court reached a level where even the smallest movement felt amplified. And both Eala and Iva Jovic began showing signs of how much this battle was draining them physically and mentally. Yet neither was willing to step back even a fraction, with Eala digging into her experience to find control in the chaos, while Jovic leaned into raw aggression that kept pushing the pace into dangerous territory. And every rally now felt like a calculation of risk versus reward, where one wrong shot could collapse everything that had been built over hours of tension, and the crowd, fully locked into the drama, could sense that something decisive was approaching as the games tightened, and each point started carrying the weight of the entire match, while the pressure on both players grew heavier with every serve toss and every return, revealing the thin line between confidence and doubt that separates winners from those who come painfully close. And in those crucial moments, the match transformed into a pure test of nerve, where strategy blended with instinct and exhaustion began to challenge focus, making every decision feel slower yet more critical, until finally the intensity peaked in a way that suggested a turning point was no longer approaching but already unfolding in real time, leaving the outcome suspended in uncertainty as both players pushed toward a finish that promised either a breakthrough, moment of glory, or a heartbreaking collapse that would be remembered long after the final point was played. At this stage of the match, everything felt like it had narrowed down to pure survival, with Eala and Iva Jovic both locked in a battle where technique, fitness, and even instinct were being tested under extreme pressure. And the crowd could feel the tension rise with every exchange as rallies became shorter but far more explosive, each point now swinging like a pendulum that refused to settle on either side, while Eala tried to steady herself through disciplined shot placement and controlled aggression, refusing to be pulled completely into chaos. And Jovic continued to answer with fearless hitting that showed she had no intention of backing down, even as fatigue started to creep into her movement, making every step slightly heavier and every recovery a little slower. Yet the desire to win kept both players pushing beyond comfort, and in the background the noise of the arena began to fade into a blur of anticipation as spectators realized they were witnessing a match that was slowly building toward a defining climax, where the difference between victory and defeat would come down to a single moment of clarity under pressure. And as the final games tightened further, the emotional weight of the contest became almost unbearable, with every serve feeling like it could decide everything, and every return carrying the possibility of rewriting the entire story of the match, leaving both players standing on the edge of a finish that had not yet revealed whether it would end in triumph, heartbreak, or something even more dramatic that knows. Final moments of the match arrived with an intensity that seemed almost impossible to sustain. Yet somehow both Eala and Iva Jovic continued finding the strength to push forward, knowing that everything they had fought for throughout the contest now depended on a handful of crucial points. The atmosphere inside the arena became electric as every shot drew louder reactions from the crowd, and every rally carried the feeling that history was being written in real time. Eala, determined not to let the opportunity slip away, began showing the composure that has defined some of the biggest moments of her young career, absorbing pressure and responding with remarkable focus whenever the stakes became highest. Jovic, however, refused to surrender and continued fighting for every point with the fearless attitude that had made her such a dangerous opponent throughout the battle. The tension between the two competitors created a dramatic spectacle that held everyone captive, as momentum threatened to change direction again and again. With nerves stretched to their limits, both players were forced to make split-second decisions under immense pressure, knowing that one mistake could erase hours of effort. Then came the sequence that would leave fans talking long after the match ended. It's a series of points so dramatic and emotionally charged that the entire arena seemed frozen in anticipation. As the contest approached its decisive conclusion, the outcome finally began to reveal itself. But the manner in which it unfolded was far more surprising than anyone had imagined, setting the stage for a result that would spark reactions across the tennis world and leave us. One player celebrating a defining moment while the other faced the painful reality of coming so close to glory.